back over there. Then I stood out there in the snow and got undressed to climb in there. Too fucking hot. I had to get right back out.
We are off mute.
Yes, we are. Yep.
I gotta get out and let it cool off.
Okay, I'm gonna call this meeting of Parks and Rec Committee to order. This meeting and all other meetings of this committee are open to the public. Proper notice has been posted and given to the media in accordance with Wisconsin statutes, so the citizenry may be aware of the time, place, and agenda of this meeting. Roll call shows we're all here except for Supervisor Krager, and he is excused. Looking for a motion to approve the agenda for today.
So move. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I think everybody had time to review our previous meeting minutes. Looking for a motion to approve those.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion carries. Any public comment?
Mr. Steve. I'll put none. All right.
Okay.
The next one, Town of Dayton Nightly Landing. I did send the email or the meeting invite and everything to the town there, but I did not hear back from him. And they were not 100% sure if they were going to have the plan ready to go for this meeting when we talked to them at the last meeting. But I did want to put it on there in case they did have it ready. So I guess if anybody had any questions yet, we could talk about it because it's on the agenda, but otherwise I think the next step is waiting for them to come back with a more finalized plan. And what
I guess I listened to that the last time they were here, and it's pretty interesting what they're trying to do, and I try to understand it. I think if I was from the township there, I definitely would like something done. But it's odd. I don't know. You guys straighten me out here, but whose authority? I mean, they're talking about parking and which I understand is a problem. But who's going to enforce it? If we say, yeah, we'll back it up.
Yeah, and it'd be
Is the county sheriff's department going to, or?
Yeah, they do now.
Yeah,
Not
for certain issues, yeah. But as far as in the parking lot at the launch, which is a pretty significant sized parking lot, that would fall under our guys. So Pete and his guys, they have it's not like credentials or whatever, but we got badge numbers, so we can write tickets for county park ordinances. So like we would be the ones enforcing if people were, anything that's in the county park ordinance we can enforce, but the only one we almost ever write tickets for is failure to pay posted user fee. So if they didn't pay the launch fee, then we can write them a ticket. And we do the notice violation, so you get a $25 or is it $35?
Get me a little closer, I guess. I understand what you're saying, appreciate it, but is that the same area where a couple of years ago we got in trouble for cutting brush back in there? Cut too many trees down or something, we got a lot of trouble?
No,
Same landing,
no.
by the parking lot?
I know we got yelled at by some local residents. I think we cleared some over by Dake or.
Well, we did Oakwood, that
Circle.
Yeah.
Landing, that's why I just
Yeah.
remember.
A lot of people don't understand where the right of ways are.
Yeah, and that wasn't an issue of, we were doing anything wrong. It's just they didn't want to see, brush cut. And
And I think you guys had or the county had chainsaw training
yeah,
at an inappropriate time.
it was bad timing, but because there was
Bad area.
there was rumor that we were going to put a road through there with parking all the way through the middle of, and then like the next week we're out there doing chainsaw training. So yeah, there was that could have probably been planned a little better, but
I guess I appreciate it. I was just trying to thinking about this meeting tonight after I went to read the agenda, and I thought I gotta know a little more about this.
and when and if or whatever this happens, it would be the same as the other landings that we are under easement with an agreement with the towns. So Farmington and Dayton, we both have a couple landings with them. I guess another one too, but so they give us the authority in their ordinances to write tickets on their property, anything to do with the launch, you know. So once you get out on the road, you know, and there's parking issues, then it's more of a, you know, town/sheriff's issue. You know, we can't really, we're not gonna be out there writing parking tickets for someone that parked half on the road or something, you know, that's not our role.
You know, and then that all comes to the next question is parking is always a problem, even after you launch your truck and your boat, you got your truck and trailer, and you don't want it in the way for the next one coming in or out. And sometimes, you know, you have to, the best place is the parking lot gets full. Is there any way they can add another, you know, 4 or 5 feet on the side of the road so people can get off the road? I mean, that's the best place for them when they can't, when you don't want them in the parking lot.
Right.
Remember, these are, you know, motorboats. These are kayaks.
I mean, the same thing, and that's so they pass an ordinance out here, they don't want them on Otter Drive, so you know where they go? Where do they go?
Right up in
On the highway. I mean, this is about that makes sense. So, you know, it's even worse.
Yeah.
So I guess, and especially when there's a lot of room there, and people are only going 10 miles an hour. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, you know, it's an issue on certain weekends, you know, when it's really nice out and everybody's around. And so I know with the Otter Drive thing, a lot of people got pretty twisted out of shape, and it does happen sometimes. People go park on Highway 54, and Casey, he's talked to me about it, and he's like, hey, if we ever see that as a safety problem, like we're gonna shut that down too, because they have the right to shut that down. But people, it seems like, have figured out the loopholes and the different places to go. Like, what is the bar there? Harbor Bar. They've got that extra parking lot that people can go, and if you have a trailer, you pay something to Harbor Bar to use it. So they'll launch a boat, and then they'll come around to the bar there and pick up their passengers over there. You know, because there's very limited parking for like Taylor Lake. So this is the same kind of issue, except I think, I mean, John, you're more familiar with it than I am, but further up the road, not across the bridge, but the other way. Once you get on that, you can still park on the sides of the road over there, right? Or no, is that all signed? Yeah. And that's a different town too, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it switched townships there. So
or shared sometimes.
yeah.
DNR's got one side also,
Yep. So
which they will police.
yep. There's not you know, the parcel's this big and it's almost all parking lot. So, you know, it's like you can't like add on to that, and it's pretty wet all right around that parking lot. I'm sure if you tried to build that parking lot now, you would be denied, because it was probably all fill in a wetland at one point, you know. But it is grandfathered in, whatever. So
And for us, we have the infrastructure to take care of the launch and stuff better than the town.
Yep.
And
and I think from the
We-
customer standpoint
yeah,
too.
from the customer standpoint, from the residents that use it, it'll be better maintained. And we stepped into this parking issue a couple of years ago, just trying to help out, but really our only authority is the easement of the launch. And it's completely on the town what they do with their parking. And we really don't have any authority to push them one way or the other.
So they haven't come up with a plan yet, though.
Not a final plan. They've been working on it. They've got a group that's meeting and discussing things. But at the last meeting, they said they thought they were pretty close, but maybe the guy they had to actually draw on the final plan didn't get it done. I don't know. So
Is that including a dock then too, or no?
I think they're not putting a dock. They're not going to have anything in the
Sure.
water.
Okay.
They just want to protect that shoreline a little better.
With cement ramp, something like that?
I don't think even cement. I think they were just
But it's
talking.
not a river though, is it?
No.
So it shouldn't be washing too terribly.
Well, it's a creek, isn't it? Doesn't it flow?
The channel between two lakes.
Okay.
It doesn't really flow there?
It's
Yeah.
maybe,
Yeah.
6 inches
Just,
deep.
just enough to get a kayak. in.
Yeah,
Well,
Maybe.
people hit the bottom too.
Yeah.
sometimes.
depending on who's in the kayak.
Yeah,
But yeah, so they wanna do something with that. The main issue is they don't want that parking lot washing into the water and contaminating the water. And then they want to get people to use an area that's,
efficient parking right now is the
Yep.
question, because
Yep.
people will park. If this is the lot, they'll park one like this, and somebody will come over here like this, and
Yep.
you can get twice the cars in if it's.
It's too bad Blacktop's it isn't cheap enough because you could paint some
Yep.
direction.
Yeah, you can't do.
and I think in the long run, I think it almost needs to go that route,
Well, I do too.
if you could find the right grants and whatever because you can get those waterway grants, that would pay for half of it.
That's who park it with. Paint.
Not a gravel. That wouldn't last 2
No,
days.
but it might last a season. I don't know.
I don't know,
I don't know.
gravel parking lot we have at a park, kids come at night, you can grade it one day and the next day is.
Yeah.
So and it's all open, so you can go in, there's really no marked, go in this way and come
Yep.
out this way, and that's what they also need to do. So they park, people
Yep.
don't know, they just park wherever they can.
Yes, so I don't have anything else to add. I think it makes sense, especially from the customer standpoint, because you buy that sticker. We've had some discussions in the office a little bit about how we're going to enforce at that launch, because it's not, we're not going to be able to do it by kayak, right? So they're going to be like, if we all like decided to go on a kayak trip, and we got like that many kayaks on a trailer, I'm not paying $5. You're not paying, that vehicle is going to have to pay $5 to launch, otherwise, how would we enforce that? There's no way. If there's an empty 6-spot trailer sitting there, I can't write them a ticket for 6 spots. It might have just been me. I've got a trailer that'll haul like eight kayaks,
Yeah, but you put 2 in it,
What's that?
if you've only put 2 in it.
Right.
Just charge you
Right.
for one.
So I think from my standpoint, unless there's, certainly accept your input. The only logical way we could enforce it is by the vehicle, so,
Vehicle basis.
if there's a vehicle sitting there in that lot, they have to have a displayed launch fee. That's the way we do it on Taylor Lake. Is that we used to, when I started here, even on Taylor with Otter Drive and all that stuff, people would come with a pontoon boat. So you'd have pontoon boat, and then there'd be like 3 cars that came along to go with him. They would fill up all the parking along that road. So we put up signs that says, vehicles have to have now if they want to not save a walk from a distance or something, they can pay a launch fee. We don't know any different, for their vehicle just sitting there. So, but that's the only way that we are going to be able to enforce it, is if we go by the vehicle, and consider that one launch, even if they're launching a dozen, we don't know. So,
People with a pickup truck, you can throw, 3, 4 in there.
Yep.
Would have been right.
yep.
So,
But that's the way I'm approaching it. I don't know how else we could possibly do that. So, but any other questions, comments, concerns about Night Lean?
Oh, thank you. Sorry I brought it up.
Oh, no, that's good. We had a little discussion about it.
I'm just trying to understand.
Yeah.
that's all right.
Well, since,
Meetings are for.
Uh,
Budget to actual.
yeah, I got a couple extra copies. So you guys can follow along and enjoy. I'll just kind of go through this. Now, this is the end of year one. It's not 100% final. They still, I think finance usually says that until like the end of March or something, they're not done posting things to 2024. Because sometimes you'll get these bills or whatever that come in late, and then they're posted to 2024 versus this current year's budget. So, but this is pretty darn close. We don't have too many of those kind of bills. Like that's mostly like, if you have services like Second Floor does, you know, or they're paying some contractor to do something or another, then they may get a bill for the previous year, like a month after or something, you know. So I'll just kind of walk through this and explain what jumps out at me, and then if you have any questions, certainly ask anytime. So right at the top there, we got the snowmobile aids. That is just we're a pass through for that. We don't take any percentage or anything of the snowmobile trail money. So it varies year to year based on if we have projects or something. Like we had a bridge last year that went in, and so things that number will go up and down. But later on in the budget on the expense side, we'll show that we spent all that money that came in. You know, so it's just a matter of a push, you know, and like here it says 94%. I think we were probably still waiting on that was probably winter ATV money, because I think that's about that amount. We were probably waiting on them, the clubs, to cash the check before it's all finalized. So we run that program, but it's just a pass through for us. The next one, pretty much we always put $2,000 in there when we're doing our budget work. We can apply for this county conservation aids every year. It varies a little bit, but each county gets about $2,000 for this, and it's mainly geared towards boat launches, things like that. We usually have some sort of project we can apply it to, but trails will work for that kind of grant too. So you see here, we year-to-date transactions that I circled, that 5,000 something, that was the Powers Trail system. I put in for that because we were spending that money anyway, so we got 5,000 out of this program for that project that would have been just county money anyway. So it's like free money. But usually we tack it on to some boat launch project or something like that. Violations, you can see we were down this last year. I think it was kind of a slow year for writing tickets. I don't know, any insight on that? Why?
Well, parking changed on Taylor, which
Yep.
changed everything. I mean, it basically cut the amount of vehicles parking there by half.
Yep. So that was a big input to it, and I don't know, maybe people are figuring out the rules, so that's fine. That's a good thing, because we're here for the public, not to write tickets. So that whole next section here, the recreational fees, is kind of where all of our revenues come in, and so the bull launch fees, that's all the bull launches together, chain, gills, shaws, all that stuff. So we came in pretty okay on that compared to what we budgeted. We always try and be a little conservative on that number when we're doing the budget, so that we don't, if we have a really crappy summer with a lot of rain or whatever, that number will go down significantly. We just don't want to come in under. And then the next one, fairgrounds, that 87,000 we brought in, so 27,000 more than we projected. The storage is our biggest money maker out there. That is a no-brainer for us to do that. It pays for most of it. If we were just looking at dollars, we would stop doing events out there and just rent those buildings out as storage things, because it brings in way more money than all the events, and it's a lot less work. I mean, it's still a lot of work getting all that stuff in and out, but we don't have to clean before every event and all this stuff. That's not the purpose of the fairgrounds. So that's what that is. Pretty good year. And just looking forward, this summer, the pavilion building is like already booked all the way from like May till August, you know, every available time or every available weekend anyway. And then like now people are renting the education building too. So we'll have a lot of weekends coming up where there's going to be 2 or 3 events going on at the same time at the fairgrounds. So it's going to be a busy summer for Pete and his guys there, keeping up with all that. So anyways, The camping thing, we just got that Keller campground and then the ones at the fairgrounds. So we keep that pretty modest as far as our expectations there. Otherwise, nothing too out of the ordinary there. And then some of this stuff will go away eventually when we get the new finance system. Like right now, you can't get rid of one of these lines. So like you just can't. They can't delete it out of there. So dog park donations, we don't have a dog park anymore. I have it for a couple of years now. So it just hangs out there. The next section there, this is the parks side of the budget and the whole personnel part. We came in good. Let's see, what was the big difference there? I underlined something. We're a little, if you look at where I underlined that 20,154, that's how much we had left this year in that line compared to in 2024 compared to what we budgeted. And if you look at that farthest to the right column, the 45,995, that's what we paid last year, 2023, for the health insurance on the park side. So what that says is somebody didn't take family that had it before. So that's where that change comes in. That's nothing we have control over. The next year it could go the other way. Someone takes family insurance that didn't have it. So we don't really have control over that. And we don't know which employee that is, or it doesn't matter. So that can fluctuate quite a bit, but we came in good, 85% projected for that. Contracted services, we came pretty close on all this stuff. Let's see, where were we? Hey, we only had used 51%, but those are kind of small numbers. So that 51% is not a big number. And then the rest of this, the 300 ones, that's supplies and whatnot. We came in pretty good there. Switching to page 3 of 4 here. Let's see, what's the next thing I highlighted? Oh, the big line here, the 350 line, the repair, maintenance, supply. That's where most of our stuff comes out of for parks. Anytime the guys are buying paint or parts and pieces, getting tires fixed, all that stuff comes out of there. And you can see we don't have like any wiggle room there, So if that was the final number, that's pretty spot on. We had $265 out of 45,000 that we could have spent yet. There might have been another bill that gets charged for that. So, but overall, we're pretty good there. The next line, the oil, grease, main, antifreeze, that's where our fuel comes out of. So those years when the fuel prices spikes, that's the line that takes the big hit there. So we did pretty good with that this last year. So and most of the time when the guys are buying gas for their trucks, gas or diesel, whatever, we're using either Churchill Station or that co-op down in Waiwega, where we get a reduced price. They cut some tax off of it for us. You don't get to take all the tax off it, but it's a savings, so that's where most of that fuel comes out of. Let's see here. We looked at, and I'll just mention in the past, Highway wanted us to use their pumps and stuff, and we were getting charged this some pretty significant, convenience fee for using their pumps and stuff. So we just, we go through those other two places, and I think we're money ahead. If we ever had to in the future, we could, but it was not saving us any money by going to Highway in the past. So let's see. And I don't think our numbers would push them into any bigger savings or anything.
Yes. When you're buying paint and things, is that also tax exempt?
Yeah, pretty much all the stuff we buy is tax exempt. We got accounts with Fleet Farm and all that stuff. And we used to use the paint store a lot, but they're not anybody anymore. But yeah, we get a break on all that stuff. I know Menards, we got an account with too. And even when you order online through Amazon and stuff, we've got the tax exempt. Yep.
A little bit, but it's like a one-time thing, once you register with like Amazon or eBay. Once they have it and you fill the forms out, you're good to go.
Yep, so, and we get yelled at by finance if we send down a receipt that had you paid tax or something, you know, it's either coming out of your pocket or you gotta go back to the store and get them to take that off of there, so. Our guys are pretty good at paying attention to that, make sure we don't get charged that, so. Cause we shouldn't be paying it. The next section are kind of fixed costs, property insurance, vehicle insurance, which went up a little bit, so. That's where we'll look at this when we're doing budget stuff come June, July, and we'll bump that up a hair to get there. But even then, we came in pretty close. And then this next, the snowmobile trails, so you can kind of see we came in pretty close with those numbers. So let's see here. The next section is the fairgrounds. I want to say there's like 1.5 of our employees are charged out of the fairgrounds budget. So you can kind of see where the numbers fall there. We were on the page 404, you get the bottom line. We were right on pretty much 100%. We actually went $468 over with the personnel side at the fairgrounds, and that was probably, let's see, where did that come in? One of the things you don't budget for is, you know, I don't understand why, because HR does these lines, you know, why they don't budget something for vacation pay and holiday pay. I never understood that part of it, but it usually comes out pretty close, and it's out. So next section, contracted services. This is going up some. I think that trash, lawn care, that's where dumpsters and whatnot. I think some of our, I think utility services, I think we're paying our porta potty prices out of that. And those have gone up significantly since Chain Portables went out of business. Which was what was that, spring of last year? They just said, "Oh yeah, we're not here no more." You know.
Just let us know.
Yeah. So Pete had to do some scrambling to find a company to come, and we're paying about twice for our porta potties what we did before, which is unfortunate, but they do really good service. You know, I guess that's the bonus of it, but it's still a lot more expensive. So they're planning into the future. We need to consider looking at where we offer these porta potties and where we should continue to, and if there's some place we can not do it. In the past, that's how we kind of planned out where we put these permanent bathrooms and things like that. It's where we were paying for porta potties, and we had property, and there was enough setbacks and stuff to where we could do that. You know, one big one would have been Fisherman's. We actually had that in our capital plan to put flush toilets in there, because the city sewer and water comes right to the edge of that lot under the bridge there in Fremont, but DOT would not allow us to put a building in there right away there. So we were unable to do that project, but that would have been awesome. You know, because those porta potties get hammered.
Do you have any toilet facilities like the state or federal where they just have come and pump them out every so often?
Yeah, we have quite a few of those vault style toilets in various parks, and you know, hindsight being what it is, you know, some of these places where we started putting those everywhere, like County Forest, we put like a guys and girls, you know, 2-stall, big concrete vault building, you know. We could have done a 1-holer there, you know, unisex thing, and we'd have been way ahead. You just think,
It's the way it is out west all
Yeah.
over at all them
Yeah.
trailheads. That's all it is.
Yep.
It is.
and that's the way it has gone in the past. Everyone had to have, you know, separate ones, but now every time you go to the county forest, even though maybe that only got used like 2 or 3 times since you've been there before, you're wiping down and sweeping and doing all the cleaning on two toilets, you know. So it's like hindsight being what it is. I wish we would have started doing the 1-stallers a lot sooner, but the last several we put in have been 1-holers, you know, like the Woods Park there on the Crystal River, and then the one at Shaw's Landing, that's a 1-holer, isn't it? Or is that a 2?
That's a 2.
That's a 2.
But we have Woods, Nelson.
Yep.
Both 1-holers, Powers.
Yep. Yeah, so unless it's a high use area like Gills or something, a one holer is the way to go. But anyway, I digress. So here again, that 300 section, this is where a lot of our stuff gets paid for. So you look at at the fairgrounds, we split this out into 3 different categories. Basically, our 350 line, our maintenance. So the first one is just kind of the general one, and that's where most things come out of when you're buying supplies and whatnot to just keep the fairgrounds going. It gets charged out of that line. And we did pretty good. It spent $16,000 out of that. And then the next 2 are kind of the first one, building repair, that 10,000. Sometimes we won't spend any of that. Sometimes we'll spend all of it and then some. But that was put in place to upgrade the buildings as needed. We'll put doors on, or we've used that quite a few years to upgrade the lighting in there and whatnot. The next line, the water main and light repairs, that was always used as kind of an emergency fund. If you had any kind of big plumbing issues out there, if you got to dig a hole in the ground out there, it pretty much costs you 10 grand. You know, by the time you get a plumber out there to dig something up, water main, or we had hydrant problems out there because all the hydrants, the fire hydrants that are inside the fence are ours. The city doesn't own those. So that water main from the gate coming in, or from the meter, I guess, is ours. So we have to, anytime there's a problem with those, we have to pay for those. So that's why those numbers, you know, we usually, unless we had an issue out there, sometimes we don't spend that stuff. But we can spend that money on, like when they're out there upgrading pedestals and things like that, we can spend that money on that. So that's the main things that we have to fund the fairgrounds work out there. Next section, insurance, nothing really there. That grants contributions, that 20,000, that's that 20,000 we give the fair every year for the junior fair. Helps pay for judges and ribbons and all that fun stuff. And the fair comes pretty much every year and gives us a good report of how they spent that money and whatnot. So bottom line, the very bottom of the page there, if everything stayed the same, we spent about 100,000 less than we did last year. And that's pretty good if you ask me. So that quote, the fund there, that number there, 368,000, that is what it costs the county to have a parks and fairgrounds department for the year. So we budgeted 478, and so far the number is 368. So that is that. The next page is the capital projects, and I just kind of noted on there where we're at with all this stuff, and this will get updated usually in March. Heidi wants to know from us what we're carrying over, what we're not gonna, where we're at with all of these projects. So I usually do a write-up to finance saying what the status is on all of our capital projects and non-capital ones, so that she knows what to do with the money and roll it over and whatnot. So the first one, the Powers Property Trail Development, these numbers are pretty slow, is what I'll say. Is they don't get updated as quickly as I would hope. So like that 30,000, maybe a fair amount less. I'm not sure if that last round of highway work out there was before or after this. So we may have 30,000, or we may have, like, 10,000 left there. I'm not quite sure at this moment, but they don't update those all the time. The next one, the White Lake Cam repairs, the dam repairs, that we're still waiting on a permit for. Finally got the permit process figured out and applied for the permit through the DNR for the dredging part of it. They were thinking that I needed a discharge permit because of the water that's going to drain out of the crap we scoop out of the channel. But since figured out a way to not need a discharge permit, they said as long as you seal the dump trucks, with like sand in the back or something, and then put all the stuff in, then we're fine, because then we're not draining that horrible water out onto the road as we drive it to the PTF. So the idea for that is to scoop that stuff out of there. It's mostly cattail clumps, and haul it up to the PTF's compost pile and let it dry out up there, and then they'll mix it in with their compost. So it'll go away. But I'm hoping it stays nice and cold through most of February here, because I'm looking at the middle of February when I could possibly get that permit. And then I already talked with Highway. They're fine with doing the work. As long as that dike is frozen. Pete talked to the landowner that owns the land the dike runs through, and the landowner's like, oh yeah, go out there and do it. So we're all good as long as the DNR says we're good. So just waiting on a permit.
Fine.
Yep. That'll be nice to get that done. And then vehicle replacement, we did that. That's that one we had to go to finance, get approved. Didn't have to go to the finance committee. I just had to go to Heidi to get that okayed, because inflation with our truck prices, that truck was about 30% more than the one we bought 2 years prior. So
I got a question. There's you have a truck or a vehicle replacement plan, or do you have something
do.
other?
And I should bring you guys that list. I'll do that around budget time.
That's fine.
We have the list, and it shows the rotation. We don't always stick to that exactly, but our work trucks are generally a 10-year rotation, because the guys will get them first, our full timers, and they use them. Usually they have 80,000-90,000 miles on them by the time they get another truck, and then that truck gets rotated down to the summer people or backup truck, because we usually have a couple extra trucks basically until summer, and then they're all used. But and then like the plow truck, the little baby dump, that one I think we got it a 12-year cycle or something like that. So we try and get rid of them before they start having major problems, and still have value. And then we sell them on that Wisconsin surplus, and then get that money goes back into the capital fund for the county. So we used to be able to take our old equipment and use it as we'd sell it and then use it to buy some other equipment, and then Heidi put the kibosh on that, which rightfully so, because that money came out of the county's capital projects. It's all overseen by the finance committee and all that stuff. So we're doing it the right way now. So so that's where we're at with that one. Let's see, the equipment replacement, that was a mower. I can't remember if that was a 4-wheel drive one or if that was a 0-turn. I don't remember, but that one was done. The Powers restroom, that one was done. HVAC for Park Shop, that's all done. The building removal, that was the old Powers house. That project was done, but it came in a little over because of the asbestos, and that's almost the exact amount that the asbestos removal cost us. So it was about $5,000. So that's where that came from. The next one, the fairgrounds fence replacement, that all was done, and that one we came in under budget, so it kind of offsets those other two that we went over. So actually almost exactly. So I don't feel bad there. And then the next one, youth building roof replacement, that was done, came in under budget. And then the rabbit barn thing, they were able to do that for less than we were expecting. So that was pretty much it for the capital projects. So any questions on our 2024 stuff? All right.
Supervisor reports. Anybody been to anything or anything they want to discuss, convention or webinars? Project updates.
Okay. I got the first one here. Let's see here. Pavilion building internet. It's been kind of a process we're working on getting Spectrum internet out to the Pavilion building, so that mainly so these county board meetings can run out there. Right now we just have the phone line internet out there. Brent, the IT guy, came out and tested the speed, and it was like 4 megabits per second or something. you know, now with the Charter or whatever Spectrum, we're supposed to get like 100 or 200 or something like that, you know, so it's going to be a lot better. And that'll, once it's in place and it's working, we can drop the phone lines. Though the reason we had to have those phone lines in there is for the fire monitoring and suppression system out there. That has to be connected to the internet for that. So once it's working, that company has already brought the card out and stuff that they need to upgrade the box to be able to run on the internet through Spectrum. So we just need to, once the Spectrum's installed, which is supposed to happen on Thursday, the final install. They already did the boring all the way across the grounds. They put a pedestal next to the building, and then they're going to run a temporary line up that pole and over to the building, and then in the building, kind of where our current phone service comes in. And then come spring, they'll come and bore right up to that spot where it comes up into the building so that they don't have a line dangling anywhere.
Did it come from the cemetery or from the other back?
From the cemetery side, yeah, right by that apartment building there. They had service there already. So, and as far as I know, I don't think they hit anything out there. You know?
I was wondering if they hit any rocks or.
You know, well, we're more concerned about, you know, geysers and stuff out there. And, you know, and it looks like, you know, they dug holes anywhere because they came out and located, I think they located all the private stuff too.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, you guys knew where everything was already.
Oh, absolutely. Right to the T. Yeah. But, so yeah, so that's exciting. Hopefully, you know, it happens on Thursday. Like they said, it's gonna, Pete and I will be at a conference, but, his guys are gonna be down there and meet with the Spectrum folks and do whatever they need done.
Yeah, because I think the board meeting's scheduled to be down there.
Yep.
Yep.
And when is that? That's February.
That's not next week, the one after. Yep. So not like cutting her close. So the IT folks want to get out there and make sure they can get the voting system working. It may not work the first meeting. They may have to do voice votes or whatever, but they're hoping to get that all done. But, so that's exciting. Hopefully that'll be done soon. Winter maintenance. Let's see what you guys have been up to.
Yep, we're still chugging along, working on vehicles and mowers and pretty much all the equipment. We're just about through it, so I would think by the end of next week we'll be done, and then we're gonna start getting out in parks and do a lot of tree trimming and brushing.
Yeah, and you guys they're gonna, what do you call it? Field test or whatever, ticket.
Wood chipper, yep.
Yeah, I think Moorbark is going to bring out a wood chipper to let them try out. So, because we're looking at that.
Like this,
The wood chipper?
or the one you put.
Yeah, it's self-tests it once you start it, but you know, everybody that I've contacted, theirs is better than the competitors, and we've used a lot of rented, the counties, the highway department's big Vermeer, and the rental place has one, and this Moorbark is like, but we do this better than that. And he offered to come out and do a free demo, and I'm like, well, we've got a brush pile, yeah, bring it out, prove it to us before we buy something, and he's willing to, plus it's training for the guys too. And that was part of the deal, whoever we bought it from had to come out, run us through it, show us the ins, the outs.
That's probably not the right term.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Well, it's not right.
That's where we're at on that.
Yeah, so that's good. And then a courthouse remodel. I don't have a whole lot. I think maybe this next finance meeting might change a few things. I don't know. It's supposed to go out to bid soon, isn't it?
Might be this week.
Yeah, I thought it was like
The bids are going out, the bid packages.
yeah.
So the next finance meeting, the main topic that everybody's concerned about has to do more with people than the building. So it's not gonna affect
The security
our timeline.
part of it.
Yeah, it's not gonna affect our timeline.
Okay.
We're moving ahead with everything. The reason we pushed for everyone to start having the meetings here and in other places is so that we can work the bugs out. So you know, if something traumatic happened out at the fairgrounds, we still can have the meeting at the courthouse if we need to. But we want to get all those bugs
Yep.
out of the system before we can't go back to the courthouse, so.
Yeah, and as far as our part of it, you know, like our staff and whatever, I think we're pretty set. They came and ran all the lines, and Pete and them did a lot of monkey work there for them, and Brent came out and wired it in to the big block there in our shop. So our internet spots should be good. So when we get told to get out of the courthouse, whatever that drop dead date is, we might as well wait as long as we need to. We will take all Pete's guys, their desks and my desk and all that stuff. We'll put them in that meeting room, break room, whatever, between hazmat and the park shop. So we'll be living out of there for the duration of hopefully just the first phase. Just put my 2 cents in there. But and then the rest of the office, like Jen, she will be at least that's planned so far, is she will be staying in the courthouse, but they're gonna move over by where UW Extension is now, with land and water and zoning. That whole wing will be filled up with those people. So, and then our solid waste people, Allison's gonna move up to the PTF during the whole thing too. So when we already got her set up there, so Brent just needs to hook up the one jack for the internet for her. So the other thing that we had to do was we had a big storage room down in the basement, and it was really full of stuff. And Pete and his guys came down there, and we hauled off like a couple trucks and a giant trailer full of stuff out of there that went up to the PTF. A lot of it was recycling, whatever, old stuff, but then some of it is stuff that we have to keep for a long time. So the PTF is keeping some of that. They wrapped it up in shrink wrap and put it up on skids, the stuff that we gotta keep for a long time. And then the next phase of it, we cleaned out a bunch more stuff. We had all the shelving that was in that room, most of it anyway. We moved that, Pete's guys moved that over into the basement of the sheriff's department. And Ron gave us a spot to put all that stuff. And then we moved boxes and boxes of stuff over there, the things that we have to keep in the courthouse. And then got rid of a lot of garbage out of there. And I think right now, the only thing we got left in there is a bunch of furniture that Ron and them said they would get rid of. We already got rid of all the scrap metal and things that were junk in there. And then we've got some recycling stuff that I just need Allison to go through. And it's kind of hard to tell what's garbage and what's recycling, you know, because she does all those presentations and stuff. So like she's got bins of, you know, recycling containers, you know, for all the junk that gets recycled. So she just has to go through all that, and then we'll put that in the sheriff's side, and then we're done in that room, which was quite an undertaking. I didn't think it would take that long, but when we go to move the office, I'm sure we're gonna have a lot more of that problem, you know, but everybody's gonna have it. So pretty exciting. I think the deadline for everybody, what did they say, May 1st or something was?
Yeah, late
Sort of.
April, early May, they're shooting for.
When the
Hammers start swinging.
Yeah, when the contractor has to be able to come in there and start knocking down walls, is like May 1st or something. So, and there's no big rush for us to get all our junk out of there, because it'll take us a day, you know, maybe 2 days to get all the stuff out of there, you know. So
Is that gonna interrupt any renting of the pavilion?
not really. The only thing that's, you know, we don't have very many groups that use that during the week.
There's no offices there kept there during,
The only office in that pavilion building is the fair office, and that's locked to other events and stuff. So
it's only for the county board meeting.
no, there will be some other meetings out there. Like if some department is expecting a bigger meeting, like zoning has a hearing out there, I think on the 22nd.
Well, I was under there might even be some offices there, but for right now, they try not to put offices.
No, I don't think we can do like offices out there, just because, well, the main hiccup is fair, and then we're renting that building all the time,
Yeah,
know,
that's
so
what I thought.
we don't have any other heated year-round spaces that you could use. Not without having somebody have an office out at the fairgrounds during fair.
Extension moved to New London or something.
Yep.
They found a spot over there.
Yeah,
Yep.
we signed the lease last week, I believe.
There's
so
vacant buildings around. It's just that a lot of them, you know, depending on what they want and what they're,
Yep.
what they're renting it for, or it's got line ups, yeah.
So it fit what we needed, and the extension is kind of excited because they're the first extension group to ever be on a main street of a city.
Oh.
So they're gonna get a lot more exposure to what they do and who they help and that kind of stuff, so,
Yeah, that'll be good.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think the linchpin of this whole thing was the Buyers Guide building. You know, the whole second floor is able to move over there pretty much, except for the health people, I think.
Cause they're done already.
Yeah.
The health department remodel is complete, updated the lab, expanded that a little bit so that we can take in water samples from other counties and stuff like that and charge them to do the testing. Everything is plug and play, so when the new heating and ventilation and all that comes online, they'll just be able to hook right up to it. But then everybody, well, they're gonna share a little bit of space with Human Services during the remodel, so there's gonna be a few people up there from Human Services, but then everybody else will be over at the Press Star building. And alls we had to do, thanks to the foundry, can't thank them enough. Alls we have to do is put in new carpeting, do some paint, replace some ceiling tiles and light bulbs, and that's all it's gonna cost us for the duration of the remodel. Which for a commercial building that big, we're getting away cheap,
Yeah.
fortunately.
Yep.
The other big update would be doing the bores for the geothermal. They reached the 500-foot mark, but the testing came back that it's not as conductive as they were hoping. So we may have to they're doing all the math to figure out if we need to put in more than the 72 original well holes that they were talking. So we're waiting on that report.
That's gonna take a long time to drill all those holes.
First, they got to dig 8 feet below the pavement,
Yep,
and then they start drilling.
yeah, because
So yeah, it's gonna.
they were out there drilling for, well, I mean, when they did the second go around there, it was still several days it took them, you know,
for one
hole.
or 72 or more.
You know, so maybe they'll bring a bigger rig or something, I don't know, or they can do it faster somehow, I don't know.
But each one of them holes, I mean, there's a line that goes down and up then, correct? When it's complete.
So, yeah, I
yeah,
understand.
Or they fit in.
Yep, they pump the fluid
Yep,
down in there. Leaches the temperature from whatever the ground temp is, like 51 degrees into that fluid, and then it pumps it back to the building. So we only have to heat up 51 degree or cool down 51 degree stuff to make things work. So
Quite an undertaking.
it's gonna be something to see.
Yeah. So it'd be something you won't see.
After a while, yeah, because we're gonna,
Yep.
you never have to touch those lines after they're installed, and they fill it back in and put the parking lot on top of it.
I've heard that before.
So, all right.
Sales pitch.
So that's about all we had there.
Yep, our next meeting, March 4th.
You got a question?
Yep, go ahead.
I got a hopefully a simple question here. Back up to the White Lake Dam.
Yep.
All right, I pretty much understand what you're doing and digging, blah, 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 blah. You're talking about digging the weeds out and disposing of them. But the problem is with the water got drained out of them. All right, now, you know, going back here, I was involved with why we went in and tripped weed cutter out there.
Yep.
Basically the same thing. We had to harvest the weeds, what they're gonna do there. Put them in dump trucks, which they're gonna do there. And then had to let it drain. It was, at that time, I think it was 2 or 3 days they left it drain. Cause all that water's gotta come out of it.
And that, I'll just interrupt you quick because like the dump truck thing, you know, leaving a dump truck sit out there for 2 or 3 days is not gonna happen.
That's what I'm bringing up. That's what I'm bringing up. The next
Yeah.
question was, or my next concern, I guess is what it is after that is done, and it does drain.
Yep.
It doesn't really maybe take that long. And you get rid of it, you said it's going to the recycle
The compost, yeah.
compost, right,
Yep.
that's right. But we had to go, at that time, we had to go through a lot of circles, so they get charged with a hazardous waste type thing.
See, we didn't have to do that because there's no industry on White Lake. Like,
Okay.
and with the Waiwega Mill
Yeah.
Pond, there used to be
There
industry
was.
around it.
My shop,
Yeah, so like, there's a chance there's some of those heavy metals and all that stuff in there, but with White Lake, there's really no
okay,
chance
that's
of
all
that
I'm
happening.
asking. You've
Yep.
answered it. Thank you.
Yeah, so we were given a waiver for that part of it.
Well, that,
Yep.
that I understand, cause that's what happened on Waiwega Pond. 'Cause
Yep.
The cheese factory and my
Yep.
metal shop were all right
Yep.
there.
Yeah, and we talked about, you know, leaving a dump truck sitting out there, but boy, if the weather changed and it warmed up a little bit, you may
Yeah.
not get that dump truck out of there, you know,
Yeah,
so.
when I get so much for all of that.
So,
Yeah, I understand.
Yep.
All right, I'll make a motion to adjourn. That's your dump, Pete.
Yep, that's where we're at.
all right, 9:56.
Debatable, we are adjourned.
All right, let me shut this thing off here.
I asked him old questions,
Go ahead.
you know, I.
All right.